Hello, Magic people. Solomon AD here. Shout out to Carrie Darkstar, by the way. Fantastic individual and lovely soul. But also, I've had some really cool spirits swing by and just drop some gnosis about just how legit she is. You can look at her YouTube and just know how legit she is. But it's another thing when spirits are going out of their way to tell you how cool and powerful someone is. So, shout out to her and the spirits that told me that. They were infernal. Some of them, they're of the goetic variety. Sometimes I can't catch their names. But, yeah. Faces of the devil. Unique devils I want to highlight. Hold on one second. I want to enjoy this frittata that Tiamat manifested for me. Anyway, my experience in demonolatry. I'm not a demolator exclusively anymore, but I spent some time in some circles. Not any like Connolly group or co-wedding group, but once I did, there was kind of a consensus that if you have a good relationship with one version of the devil, that is probably going to translate pretty well to another version. Not saying they're the same spirit, but the current is similar enough to where you can go pretty well, work pretty well with one version of the devil to the next. For example, if you work well with Azazel, may probably work pretty well with Shemyaza. If you work with Lucifer pretty well, probably work pretty well with Satan, and vice versa. Only on some occasions where you have people that don't want to let go of Christian baggage when it comes to that word Satan. It's a bit more on Satan than it is Lucifer. Sometimes people like to get Hollywood. Some churches like to get Hollywood about who's who and shit, but there are some unique spirits that have told me explicitly, though, that your relationship with this is not going to translate with your relationship with me. The three most notable, and it's not limited to these three, there's several that are across many cultures that are very distinct, and just because you got a good relationship with, like, say, Satan or Lucifer, it's not going to translate to a good relationship with these. But the three that have, like, outright told me you gotta be it's just I'm a different animal is Samael, Saizen, who is the devil of the ancient Mayans, and Ahriman, or Angermanu. I have not done a dedicated working with Ahriman, but his current told me, it was like the current was speaking to me, or a messenger from the current. I could feel the immensity of the sinister nature that he had. And it was very intimidating, but I was thinking about venturing off and doing a ritual with this entity. Tiamat came in and advised not to do it unless I was going to do a dedicated path working. The Ahrimanic, Persian, Zoroastrian current is different and very distinct from Goetia, anything Western, so including Verum, including Ducante. It's different. It requires its own respect and dedication. Saizen, who I will be doing dedicated path working with and have been easing into his current. He has, and also I've made a pilgrimage to an actual sacred site of his in Belize. So I did receive gnosis directly from his current, if not him himself, when I was in a cave that is a portal to the Mayan underworld in Belize. He has said outright that he is not a typical demon. He is not a typical devil. And those that try to treat him as such will probably not have a good experience, because you cannot approach him with the same mindset. It's all about beliefs. It's not even about like ritual techniques. It's like, if your mind is not habitable for the concept that these devils are, then they will fuck you up, essentially. And because your mind can't handle the belief in a way. And it doesn't have to be you like losing your mind and going into a loony house. It will just be like you feel there'll be like some kind of subconscious uneasiness, and it will manifest into misfortunes in the real world. But he's stated explicitly. Shout out again to Lord Josh Allen, actually. Lord Josh Allen made a video about Lamont, who is it's a Mayan source spirit. And but in those videos, he warns explicitly not to approach Apwach or Apuch. It's another name of Saizen. And I can corroborate that from my gnosis directly from Saizen. Or Apuch or Apwach. So if you want any more information on, like to not go about this spirit willy-nilly, I cite Lord Josh Allen's video on Lamont. The third devil I mentioned is Samael. I find it odd that I've traveled around a lot of, or I've made my way and seen a lot of demonolatry media, and Samael is typically not as called upon as he is, like, say, Azazel or Lucifer or Satan. I believe there's an actual reason for that. And I don't want to sound offensive to anybody or anybody else's personal practice. Samael has been the single hardest spiritual relationship for me to form. He has deliberately, outright, several times, physically harmed me. In fact, he manifested to me in my life as a mentor before I even knew what Samael was. And this mentor physically hurt me. This is the kind of nature that you deal with Samael. I went into working with Samael first through the archangel mask known as Camael. And then the archangel mask known as Samael. And then really finding out that Samael of the Sephiroth is the same as Samael of the Qliphoth. And I eventually had done enough Qliphothic and Sephirothic workings with this Samael that he allowed me to have what he called like exclusive gnosis or elect gnosis, which is the consolidation of all of his masks. So to really come full circle with his Qliphothic identity, his Sephirothic identity, and really seeing that they're one and being able to move in and out of both identities pretty effortlessly, because they really are the same. For him, like when he's operating, it's pretty easy to go between the two. For an operator, for a magi, for an occultist, sometimes it's kind of hard to go in between, jumping from the archangel to the archdemon archetype, and really they're all rolled up into one. He even is allowing me to have access to some other, I won't mention one type of gnosis because it's kind of disturbing, and it would get a lot of people's panties in a bunch. It would start a debate. I'll make a video about it at some point, but that's another discussion for another time. But the one additional mask I will let you know about that he's letting me in with is the Gnostic Demiurge. Samael, also known as Saklas, also known as Yaldabaoth. They are, from my gnosis, and I'm still diving deep into this because this is really, really deep, and whenever I'm in the ritual chamber with this gnosis, it's so much energy. It's like a big, thick wall, and it's hard to get through. But to what Samael has told me is that he, Yaldabaoth, and Saklas are like they're the same in the same way like a Holy Trinity is. But they are all a part of Samael. So, but he is also a devil. If you know the mythology, yes, Samael is the origin of the word Satan. He is the origin of the devil. He is the origin of Gevura on the Tree of Life, where separation really comes in the Sephiroth is at Gevura, and separation from God, which means that's the definition of evil in Hebrew, is separation from God. He is where it starts. And I will tell you, from my experience and the experience of other magicians, those who have worked with Samael, everyone that I've worked with has always seen working with Samael a lot harder than working with Satan, Lucifer, Shemyaza, Azazel, or any other mask of the devil. Exception, I will say exception is of Iblis, because I have never worked directly with Iblis. I've worked indirectly, but I have never since. And it was only once. So I'm not going to... And also, Iblis is a jinn, so slightly different mechanics of how you would work with him. So I do want to exclude Iblis from this discussion, because it would not do him justice at this point. But yes, I like whenever... This was another reason why I had to cut services, is because one of my main rights was working with Azazel and Samael, and sometimes Samael wouldn't want to work with people. And I would just have to do essentially an evocation with Azazel. Azazel has always been, even if he's been a hard teacher, he's been like a very compassionate badass. Samael is unapologetically, he can be evil, straight up evil. But he is my patron. I am closer with Samael than I am Azazel. Samael is one of my closest spirits. He's in my divine holy trinity. Samael, Tiamat, Kukulkan. My three closest spirits. But I give a disclaimer to anybody that wants to work with him. And he would apply that disclaimer as well, because he doesn't want to waste his time. I see, it's like Samael... Oh, there's a spider on the window. Samael makes Azazel look like a nice guy. I've said that before, and Azazel has smiled at that statement, and he has been okay with it. So, yeah. If you got any more questions about these spirits, shoot me a message. I'm not the most knowledgeable on Ahriman, but I can direct you to people who are. But when it comes to Saizen and Samael, I feel very comfortable with them. So, please like, share, and subscribe, and may that serve you well.